I just want to give a quick little warning by saying that I talk major spoilers in this video. If you don't want to get spoiled on this movie, I suggest you click off right now. If you don't care about spoilers at all, then I hope you'll stick around and listen to my review. I hope you enjoy. Thank you. Oh, shit. Zero. There we go. What can I say? The Godfather. Based off of Mario Puzo's novel of the same name, The Godfather is directed by Francis Ford Coppola and stars Marlon Brando and Al Pacino. The story follows the Italian-American crime family, the Corleones, led by Don Vito Corleone. When Vito's son Michael ends up joining the mafia and following in his father's footsteps, he ends up witnessing the aspects of violence and betrayal within the business and ends up becoming more and more twisted up in it. Because of this, he's forced to balance out his new responsibilities along with his personal life. Since I talked about Jack and Jill last week, and considering that that experience was super painful to go through, as well as the fact that Al Pacino was in it and still remains the only good thing about that movie,
Don't be startled, it's only me.
I figured that I would talk about the film that put Al Pacino on the map, as well as what many consider to be the greatest film of all time. I mean, what can I say, except for the fact that it's one of the greatest films out there, and will continue to remain timeless. How could it not be? It was the highest grossing film of 1972, won Academy Awards for Best Picture, and still continues to be referenced today, which only a select few films can get that luxury. But what do I think about The Godfather, and why is it a film that has been praised for so many years by so many people? I'm here to talk about that today. Let's start off by talking about how this film changed the landscape of cinema and the world today. Many people point out how The Godfather was revolutionary when it came to the mafia film genre. Looking back at the films in this genre prior to The Godfather, the mafia were often portrayed to be dirty, violent, and a group that was just out of this world. It's also what got people to make fun of the Italian culture so much with the strong accents and mannerisms. And yeah, these stereotypes are still used a lot in media today, but at the same time, The Godfather was able to shed a brand new light on the Italian culture. No need for putting up women for prostitution, no need for showing off any gambling, and no violence to the innocent civilians. Just the war between crime families breaking out with the leaders fighting to defend the ones they love. The Don Corleone is the big dog on campus, and right from the opening scene of this movie, you can already see the culture portrayed in a brand new light. He's asked by a man to have his daughter's rapist suffer for what he's done, and that's when we find out that the man went to the cops first because he's a good American. Vito wonders why the man didn't come to him first and why he treats him with disrespect. In this scene alone, we understand that the Godfather will help those in need through friendship, and if someone makes the decision to disrespect his family. He also claims that he's no murderer and will only do so much to bring the same amount of suffering to those that disrespect him. I'm glad that the film made the decision to show us the mafia in a brand new light right from the get-go, because that establishes the tone for the rest of the movie. We get a view of them from the inside as opposed to seeing them be violent for the sake of being violent from the outside. That's one of the ultimate messages the film is trying to give to the viewer. That disrespect to the family won't go unpunished, even if that disrespect comes from within the family. And I think Coppola did a great job in making this clear throughout the film. What I also really appreciate about this opening sequence is how they display the use of lighting. On the inside, the room is dimmed with a dark atmosphere when in the room with Don Corleone. All of that, along with Brando and his performance, make Don Corleone's presence all the more intimidating. Contrast that with the outside on a happy and sunny day as Vito gets to see his daughter on her wedding day, with him having the time of his life with a nice big smile on his face. And this is only one of the many moments throughout this film where I think Coppola did a great job in creating an immersive setting with each group. And I know that today a lot of us love to imitate Marlon Brando's performance, as well as sometimes make fun of his voice, but at the same time, I think that's what helped flesh him out to be one of the greatest characters in film history. I'll admit that his voice does get a little bit silly sounding at times, and there were a few times while he was on screen that I had to turn on subtitles because I just had no idea what the hell he was saying. But at the same time, having his soft-spoken voice along with his mannerisms and the darkly dimmed rooms throughout this movie, I think that really added to his threatening presence. And while his methods to protect his family are unethical, he's one of those guys that I can still get behind. From the time we get to spend with Vito, you're able to see that he'll do whatever it takes for his business as the big crime boss, as well as whatever it takes to protect his family. But you're also able to see that he can deliver an emotional scene once in a while, especially with this one when he finds out that Sonny died. It's probably one of the most emotional scenes throughout this movie.
Look how they massacred my boy.
These scenes really helped him to become more of a three-dimensional character, which you probably wouldn't expect from a big crime boss like him. He's not really seen as a traditional movie villain where he's just a big, threatening guy who will just kill to kill. For me, I don't really see Vito Corleone as your traditional movie villain. And as a matter of fact, there really isn't a movie villain throughout this movie. It's just crime bosses doing whatever it takes to protect their family. And that's what Vito Corleone is doing in this movie. Alright. So let's talk about Michael Corleone, played by the man himself, Al Pacino. You know, it's really hard for me to believe that Al Pacino could go from making scenes like this.
I'm with you now. I'm with you.
And then end up doing shit like this. Let's just say that this was the film that made Al Pacino, and I gotta admit that he is my favorite part of this whole movie. I mean, talk about a wonderfully developed character. From the beginning, Michael starts off as the young guy just coming back from war with his one true goal, wanting to be married to his girlfriend, Kay, with no intention of being part of his father's business. However, seeing the near death of his father ultimately puts him in a really tough position, because now he's forced with choosing between pursuing the woman he loves or putting family first. The amount of violent deaths in his family, the loss of new loved ones, as well as witnessing the betrayal taking place within, has him realize that he must do what's right in order to keep his family safe. Seeing all these events influence Michael's decision was already very well done in developing his character, but where the film really makes it a home run is seeing Vito Corleone express just how much he wanted to see Michael take over. Going back to how this film shed new light on the Italian culture, this scene is also another prime example of how well Coppola was able to show the humanity within the Italian culture. Rather than Vito simply stating that he wants Michael to take over and just be the new boss, he ends up saying that he wants to see Senator Corleone or Governor Corleone.
Senator Corleone. Governor Corleone.
Oh man. I mean, Coppola could have easily had Vito say something like, I want you to take over the business, or I want you to just be the next Godfather. But using words like senator and governor out of all things, it really just comes to show that the mafia isn't just full of naive and dirty people that aren't on the same level as everyone else. They honestly have just as much humanity as everyone else. And on top of that, Vito even states in his speech that he doesn't apologize for the things that he does, saying that this is the life he chose and that protecting his family is way more important than following a moral compass. Michael, like his father, realizes that this is the only way to protect his family and that there's really no other way to get out of it. And where does the film portray this best? In the baptism scene. The famous scene where Michael sends out the order to have all the various family leaders taken out to end the war between families. It has just the right amount of emotion and suspense to have you at the edge of your seat every time. That scene alone, I believe, is where Michael's ascension into his father's place is truly complete, and he's ready to take on his legacy. And at first, I thought it was a little odd for Michael to do this, since Vito originally called for a truce to end the family war. But the more I thought about it, I've come to realize that it was only Vito's vow, and Michael is doing only what he believes will truly stop the war. Much like his father, Michael is only doing what he thinks is best in order to protect the Corleones. But what do you guys think if you've seen this movie? Do you think that Michael broke his father's vow by sending out this order? I'd really love to know in the comments below. I mean, is there really anything to complain about in The Godfather? Honestly, no. I mean, if I were to nitpick anything about this movie, it would probably be during the beginning of the movie with Johnny Fontaine trying to secure a movie role. I mean, Johnny Fontaine is trying to secure a movie role, but then he ends up not getting it, and then he ends up leaving the head of the movie producer's prize stallion in his bed. I mean, it seemed like that would be going somewhere, but it didn't. But, I mean, that was just a little part in the movie. I mean, who cares? The rest of it is just gold. I'm serious when I say that I really have no big complaints about The Godfather. And in fact, the more I think about it, the better it gets. Everything from the performances of the actors, the amazing cinematography and musical score, as well as the deep messages within, The Godfather is practically perfect in every way, and it's an exceptional work of art. I honestly can't give enough praise to Ford Coppola for how well made this movie is, and it's honestly safe to say that it's gonna live on for generations. If you clicked on this video and you haven't seen The Godfather yet, I don't know what the hell you're doing, because it's truly a staple in cinema history, and everything about it is just amazing. All I have to say though is just get comfortable, because it's a 3-hour runtime and you may be squirming a lot, but trust me, it'll be well worth it in the end. You already saw my score at the beginning of the video, but I don't care. I'm gonna show it again. The Godfather gets 10 out of 10 roses.
Hollywood big shot's gonna give you what you want. I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
So I'd really, really love to know, what do you guys think of The Godfather? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Not care to watch it? I'd love to know in the comments below. And if you made it this far in the video, I'd appreciate it if you leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more future movie content. Thank you guys so much for joining me in this review. Look forward to more very soon. And until the next one, you guys, I'll see you later.